After taking the time to take in some of the natural wonders of Oahu, I thought it was time to check out a few man-made things. Whether they're wonders or not is left up to you. Figured I'd check out Ala Moana Mall, but at the same time I've passed a few things along the way that might just be interesting or might not. I have the Ward 16 Mall and the South Shore Market. Honolulu runs on tourism, so they've got to have plenty of opportunities to buy stuff and sell stuff. So I shouldn't really be surprised. At the same time, I'm kind of taken aback. But here we are, and here I go. The thing about the Ala Moana, though, is that it's very upscale, so probably not my thing, and probably fairly familiar. All those big name brands that, kind of like the fashion mall back at Rosemont, or maybe Water Tower Place back downtown. In any event, it may be another case of the skin around every city looking the same, which I've referenced before. So I won't bore you with that much more. However, at least along the way, I don't have to deal with cold and snow. You can see the beauty of Ala Moana Park over beyond me. And while they may not have any wares that necessarily appeal to me, I'm going to take a look around and maybe find a little more local color on my way back in some of these other more surprising, less pitched places. I say pitched in reference to the fact that it was name-checked by our tour guide this morning. And of course, that may partly be because it's where the high rollers tend to go. So, and he sees us as high rollers because World Cruise. Yeah. Just because I can afford a World Cruise doesn't mean that I don't appreciate a good bargain or some local color rather than some hoity-toity name brand. Of course, maybe that's because I'm a guy. I don't know. Anyway, like I said, we should be getting there pretty soon. So we'll check out the place from the inside soon enough. Well, we've just made it to the corner, and you'll notice that most of these are names we know and presumably love, apart from Foodland Farms. I guess I should check that one out. The rest of it is just basically those high-flying name brands that everybody wants to own, and so every city has, so that everybody can have them when they want it, where they want it. Discuss amongst yourselves whether that's a good or bad thing. Access is nice, but it does take away some local color. And that's what I'm here for as a tourist. If I wanted to go to something like Bloomingdale's or Nordstrom, I could go to one of a ridiculous number of malls back home. Of course, I may have an advantage being from suburban Chicago. That's fair. Our guide called this the third largest mall in the world, which I guess puts it behind Edmonton and Dubai, and the largest open-air market in the world. So, we'll find out about that. I guess this constitutes as open air since we've got skylights in here, and this is basically the parking garage that I'm staring at the moment. Yeah, we've got one of these here. We could go and check this place out in Evanston, but haven't gotten around to it. So, sometimes you have to learn. This one you'll find all over the place back in Tokyo. It's all right. I apologize for it being so loud in here, but like I said, this is the parking garage. I haven't gotten inside yet, if there is an inside, since again, open air. But I haven't had lunch yet. Why don't we check out the food court? Again, it's amusing as to how many familiar names are mixed in with the unfamiliar. And this thing's huge. Where to start? This rather goes on and on. this certainly is a step up from Woodford. And would it surprise you to know that the longest line is the one at Chick-fil-A? They've even got these folks taking orders here. Meanwhile, the steak place right next door is not doing very big business. But if you look at the menu and look at the prices, I think I understand why. I was curious about Mr. Cow, and then when I start looking at it, it's basically corn dog with a different label on it. I'm not gonna lie, honey. I basically suffered from choice overload, I think. And I'm just going to have to pass for the moment. I assume that at some point I'm going to get hungry enough to say, I know what I want. But I've been using that same logic with Daniel for the past 30 years with little success. So I really don't know if it's going to work or not. I will probably head out that same way, so maybe by then something will be tempting and the crowds won't be quite as nuts. But we're going to see. Anyway, speaking of seeing, let's say hello to a stage. Well, I'm not getting up on it, of course. I'm not that silly. And then there are 3 levels of stores beyond me. Well, they may have something about this whole largest open-air mall. It does seem like a real involved trip to get around in it. So maybe it shouldn't surprise me. This really does go on for a while. And yet there's also upstairs and sunlight. Maybe I should try that. For calling itself an open-air mall, it's really kind of weird to see most of it, or at least the lowest level of it, as basically an adjunct to the parking garage. I mean, cars got to park somewhere, that makes sense. But this is really something. And speaking of being really something, here's the 2nd floor. And there's still a parking garage here. And in case I wasn't suffering from choice overload as it was, here's some more stuff to choose from. I don't know what might interest me here. I imagine there's a lot of things, but it's just trying to settle on something. Wait, there's a 3rd and 4th level? I mean, for crying out loud. Yep, there they are. I haven't even covered this 2nd level yet. They may be onto something. Since our tour guide in Hilo suggested that best to go to some of the chain stores for better prices, I figured I'd go in here and get myself a charge cord and maybe a tripod for this thing. Only thing is, when I got to the electronics section, I couldn't find a tripod, and the charging cords were all locked up. So I had to ask for help, which, yeah. But of course, everyone's friendly here, not a problem. He did even find a tripod, but he pointed out they only have the one model and it's expensive. And when a Hawaiian tells you that something is expensive, you believe them. He had to look it up. I saw what it was and I'm like, yeah, I don't want it that badly. So it may have to wait, I may have to make do. We'll see what happens as we go along. But I thought it was an amusing story nonetheless, and I figure I might as well tell you about it. There's some things that you miss when you're away from home for a prolonged period of time. Granted, there is the Izumi place on the ship, which I guess might be worth checking out if I do get a craving. But for now, I thought I'd check this one out, only to find out, for whatever reason, they're only going to take it. Honestly, conveyor belt sushi is all about impulse shopping. So I'm back to walking about the place, trying to figure out what to do with myself when there really isn't that much that grabs my attention at any one moment. That is the problem. Boy, you can't stay on task here. I can't say enough for the friendliness of the Hawaiians. I just went to pick up a few edible souvenirs at the drugstore, and the cashier asked me if I had a card. Kind of course, I'm not here before, so of course I don't. And then she asks the lady behind me in line if I can borrow her card number in order to get the sale price. And she agrees, like, on the spot. I mean, it probably doesn't cost her anything to do that. Perhaps she even gains some points from it. But it's still not the sort of thing that I would have expected. It's not the sort of thing that would happen back at home. So, bravo, Hawaii. This must be the spirit of aloha you keep talking about. Thank you. Well, I'm coming up to Foodland Farms, whatever that is. It's giving me a distinct grocery store vibe to it. Okay, we'll find out about it in a moment. And we're back on the first floor, if you hadn't guessed. We're right in the parking lot again, complete with a whole 1 hour parking for everything that's near to the door, which is fine. I'm not going to be here for very long anyway. Well, I wasn't wrong about what it is. Definitely the grocery store. Got a few things that are uniquely local. It's not supposed to be similar to what's at home. There's different brands and the like. Are big with their coffee though. I might just pick some up here too. Yeah. Gotta love that name. Well, there's always self-checkout. Perfect for someone playing. Well, I've made my way through Ala Moana, but now to try something a little different. See if these names, which don't look familiar to me at all, are more interesting than the ones with which I am.
Spoiler alert, there wasn't much, at least not in terms of products that I wanted to buy. A few things caught my eye, but nothing really worth shopping for to speak of.